Today, we are going to be looking at Lawrence Kohlberg's theory of moral development and Erikson's theories on psychosocial development. We're going to start by applying Kohlberg's theory to the clip you watched where Dr. House, the main character of a television show, enters the scene with a moral dilemma. If you haven't already, go ahead and watch the 3-minute clip and then come back here to hear the explanation of how to apply Kohlberg's theory. So Dr. House's problem is pretty straightforward. He can tell the transplant committee that his patient is at risk because of her depression and bulimia, but if he does so, she will not get the heart and will likely die. Now, if he does not tell the committee, she will likely live, but he will have put his license and livelihood at risk. You might have opinions on what Dr. House should do, but Kohlberg really wasn't interested in your yes or no answer. He wanted to know what your reasoning was. Kohlberg believed that we develop our moral center through a series of stages. We start off in life in what Kohlberg called the pre-conventional stage, where we pretty much are just concerned about rewards and punishments. If a person is in this stage, they would pretty much say, well, what does Dr. House get out of it? Or what will be the negative consequence for Dr. House? So that person might say he should ask her for a bribe to lie to the committee. Then he will get rewarded. Or the person might say, he will be punished by the hospital if he lies to the committee, so he needs to tell the truth. These forms of reasoning would be pre-conventional because they are exclusively concerned with rewards and punishments. In the conventional stage of morality, Kohlberg believes the reasoning would change to being focused on approval from the larger group or a commitment to conforming to the rules of society. People in the conventional stage might say, well, Dr. House will be shunned by his fellow doctors and friends if he lets her die, so he should lie to the committee. On the flip side, a conventional moral thinker might say, well, rules are rules. I must conform to the rules of the list because that is the code of my chosen profession. Again, Kohlberg's conventional thinking was not about whether or not he should lie to the committee. It was about how the person rationalized their decision. In the final stage, the post-conventional stage, the person is, aware that rules exist and they may even respect those rules. But they also recognize that they've developed a sort of higher set of moral principles to guide their decisions. So a person in post-conventional morality might say that, we have to allow for the possibility that the patient is going to die, and that's unpleasant. But leaving those decisions up to one person's judgment would result in a violation of an even higher moral code. Dr. House is not a god. On the flip side, the post-conventional moralist might say that it's the job of all human beings to support life in any way possible. So letting her die would be a violation of a higher principle, the principle that says all life is more important than any societal principle. And then the person should lie to the committee. So Kohlberg did not believe that most people actually ever reach post-conventional morality. But he did say that as we get older, our moral principles become gradually more about the rights of others and society in general, and less about ourselves. The second theorist we're going to look at today is Erikson. He believed that as we get older, we face a set of dilemmas or challenges that he called psychosocial stages. He believed that we face these challenges not just in childhood, but throughout our lifespan. Once you're done with this video, watch the video attached to the Google Classroom to take you through Erikson's psychosocial stages. Be sure to take notes on each stage because it will be very helpful for your final task of the day. Both Erikson and Kohlberg were challenged in their philosophy by a woman named Gilligan, who believed their stages were focused on the attitudes of men from individualist cultures. She believed that women and people of collectivist cultures developed attitudes that were more focused on building relationships rather than on individual rights or achievements. So for them, their stages might have differing timelines or may in fact be entirely different. It is important to keep in mind that all three of these thinkers are philosophers and not scientists. While all three have relevant ideas and their beliefs certainly have made sense to many people, the stages have not been tested in an experimental setting, so their ideologies are not principles that can be applied with exact data to back them up. While this does not make them unimportant, it is key to remember the difference between philosophy and scientifically verifiable principles. Now, your final task of the day will be to come up with moral reasoning for each of Erikson's stages for moral development for the dilemma of whether or not to drive the speed limit. Remember, the yes or no part is not what is important, but whether or not your reasoning fits with each stage. Second, you will be looking at a series of case studies and matching them with the appropriate psychosocial stage as defined by Erikson. Good luck!